Hey, what up? What up, you guys? It's What If Dean back for another video. This is gonna be What If Naruto had feather release. I'll explain that in just a moment, but first, take a drink of water. So, this is so everything goes the same up until Naruto turns 5. On his 5th birthday, the villagers beat him. Worse than a bit worse than normal. Like when they're beating him, feathers just start appearing around Naruto, kind of like just covering his body. Kind of like if you've seen the Roman plate armor that they used, like the Roman legions, the kind of plate armor they wore. That's kind of how the feathers cover his body. Like it doesn't look that way, but that's kind of just how they cover it up. But you know, and these are about as hard as steel, so but they're flexible enough to where they don't affect your movement in just about like any way whatsoever. But and if you're about to get hit by a blunt attack, they'll harden to where they're no longer flexible, so it'll just kind of hit steel. You know, and he can pour his chakra into it to make up stronger, but he doesn't know that yet. Just this essentially this suit of armor made out of, like, let's say, white feathers surrounds him, and one of the and then one of them goes to punch him. He hits one of the feathers, and his hand gets cut pretty bad too. Like you know when you make a fist and there's like that space in between your knuckles, it cuts about like half an inch into one in between the knuckles. So like it hurt him really. I could make it worse, but like because it could go straight through his hand. Like it could cut his hand off, but just because of the way the feather was angled and how big the feather was, that's how deep it goes. Like it's the size of, uh, like it's about the size. Alright, so you see the picture of Australia right there? That's about this. Or no, the size of Brazil. The you see how? No, that's not gonna work. Um, yeah, just they're about they're they're not small, but they're not big. Like they're eagle feather size. Like they're the size of eagle feathers. That's how big they are. Like grown eagle feathers. So that's how that's gonna be. And then after that, he's gonna tell Hiruzen about this. Like this is his 5th birthday, so yeah, he's gonna tell Hiruzen. Hiruzen's gonna be like, "Oh, this." He's never heard of this ability, so he's like, "Is this like a Keki Genkai?" Or he's curious, so he's like, "Can you do it again?" And like Naruto said, "I'm not sure." Naruto says, I'm not sure." And he tries to do it again, but instead of and he's clenching his fists while doing it. He's clenching his fists while doing it. So when he does it, it creates, instead of his entire body being covered in feathers, he creates a kunai. He essentially just puts a kunai, a feather, into his hand, and it's like a kunai because it's razor sharp. You know, and that's about where that's at. And he can also join he can join 4 small feathers to make sure it can. Just so you guys know, so he can make small feathers that are like the length of a feather, and they're all the length of the index finger, and they're all connected in the middle, so they're about the size of a they're about the size of a hand, like not the size of a hand, like if you fold your fingers kind of under, like don't ball up your fist, but like just kind of fold the part of your fingers. It's about the size of your fist, your hand, like that. It's about the size of a palm. That's about how big the shuriken he makes are. But he makes a kunai in his right hand. Like, who's like, you, why is there, looks like you just made a feather in your hand. But then, I wonder, can I see it? And Naruto gives it to him. Like, he tries to he runs his finger across the edge of the feather, but it cuts him. So, and he realizes these things are razor sharp. They are sharp enough to not notice the cut until there's blood. That's how sharp this thing is. You don't. He didn't feel the cut until after the. He didn't notice that it was even cut until he saw the blood. Like, that's how sharp these things are. And he's like, "Oh wow, yeah." He tells Naruto to hide it. He tells him it might not be a bad idea to hide it. You don't have to, but like he does, but you can if you want. But that wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, he tells him like, you know, and like for the next, and Naruto does. He's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea, and that's essentially how that goes down. And then about um, a month later, Naruto's like goes to Hiruzen. Hiruzen, I know my birthday was a month ago, but I was wondering if I could have a place where I could practice using my Keki Genkai without people seeing me. And Hiruzen's like, yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. So he says like, tell you what, I'll give you this scroll of Fuinjutsu. If you can figure out all the seals in here by your next birthday, then I'll help you make a base, or like a base or a hideout or something. Like maybe, you know, and like no, he gave him just some basic Fuinjutsu, but he accidentally wrote but he also wrote a bit of space-time jutsu on it. Like, it's not the Thunder God, so it's not light travel. It takes a few minutes to travel, but it can go through. But you can use it to teleport through objects and stuff. So it takes it takes a few minutes for it to happen. So and it takes a decent amount of chakra. Like, not as much as the Flying Raijin or Flying Thunder God, but it takes a decent amount of chakra. But Naruto's fine, but it's okay for Naruto since, he has a lot of chakra, so it's not that draining for him. That's how that happens. Yeah. And 6th birthday comes around. The villagers can't find him. Why? Because he is at Hiruzen. Because he and Hiruzen are building the base. Like, they don't get any contractors out or anything. They just use their hands and jutsus, like earth jutsus, because this thing's gonna be underground. Like, they're putting this thing underneath Konoha. No, they're putting it inside of. They're putting it inside of the Hokage monument. And Hiruzen says, like, if we're gonna